Old House Board, Jim Reesberg, and
Is it online? Can you hear me? Can the room hear me?
No.
I, unmute and let's go for it. Let's try.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
No.
A little bit.
Let's try it again, John.
Wait, try talking.
Can you hear me now in the room?
It was working better when you were using the mic over there. I'm
Okay.
not sure if it's a locational issue.
Alright, go ahead and try talking.
All right. Can the room hear me now?
A little bit.
This is what we did before.
And you have your sound on the loudest it can go, John.
Alright, you can hear me, right, Josh? Okay, go ahead and try talking and we'll see if this works.
All right. Can the room hear me now?
A little bit.
No one's responding in the room.
And you've
It's-
got your volume.
It's just very quiet. Maybe, I don't know, do you feel comfortable talking loud? I'm sorry to ask you that.
I can yell. Can you hear me now?
We don't want you to get voice trained, but you look like you're as close to the mic as you can be.
Yeah, I think so. That was better.
Okay. All right. I'll speak as loudly as I can here. Thank you, Representative Mary Young, for inviting me to speak here today. I work with Rochelle at Connections for Independent Living. I'm the Director of Independent Living, and I also oversee our housing vouchers. I have additional experience of also being a landlord myself, so I have kind of a unique perspective on the issues that we're facing in Love County and in Colorado as a whole here. So, one of the biggest issues facing us is really a long-term problem, and we've got a lot of short-term solutions that we're trying to patch this together with. The issue is that housing as a whole is a very low profit margin business, both on the nonprofit side and the for-profit side. As a result, we've got rising costs going into it, and it's just further restricting the supply. On the nonprofit side, we've got people leaving the market on the servicing side of things. Currently, we are having a lot of people that are needing housing and can't even find voucher coordinators to hold those vouchers and administer them. Connections itself has been asked to administer vouchers in Larimer County, which is outside of our mandate, because DOH in Denver hasn't been able to find voucher coordinators in that area.
going to not present the video. I will get you these 11 bills that they're talking about and try to send the video to all of you. So our Zoom feedback should end now. But we will have Julie Riskin and Deb Burnett and Doug come on up, and you can configure yourselves either behind the table, in front of the table, whatever works for you. First, we have Julie Riskin, who is the co-executive director of Colorado Cross Disability Coalition. Happy to have you here. She has a very extensive background in this area.
Thank you, Representative Young. You all here are very lucky because you have an awesome state representative. So thank you. And I just want to thank Juliana Kitten. It was wonderful to hear you talk. Having city leadership like this is also incredible, and unfortunately not the case in every city. So thank you. And I also want to acknowledge Rochelle Mitchell-Miller from Connections for incredible leadership of pulling together a bunch of nonprofits to deal with this. What I see in the city of Greeley here is what we'd like to see everywhere with people like these folks who genuinely value people with disabilities and trying to address this really untenable situation. And while it's sad, the situation is really tragic, people like Juliana and Rochelle and the folks I'm sitting next to give me hope. So what is the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition, and why is this chick from Denver sitting here in Greeley? So we are a statewide, the largest statewide disability-led disability rights organization. And our mission is to advocate for social justice for people with all types of disabilities. Hillary Jorgensen, there is the other co-director. What's going on here is really important and something that we are very, very concerned about. Cross disability means that we believe that people with all types of disabilities have more in common than not, and that we do better when we work together, and that there's not a need to pit different disability groups against each other. Whatever our disabilities are, what's important is that we work together because our needs are similar. Whether you know you have a spinal cord injury, a brain injury, if you're blind, if you have a mental illness, our needs are common. It's things like housing, transportation, employment, affordability. We're a membership organization, and our membership is free. And Hillary has a pad, and she'll be around to get anyone who wants to sign up, because we want to help organize folks here in Greeley on this issue. Affordability, so our motto first is that nothing about us without us. And that means that people with disabilities should be involved in every decision that affects our lives immediately, not after the fact. That we should be involved in all decisions. And that's at an individual level as well as on a policy level. We also believe that all of us have a right to live in our communities and to participate. And for many of us, that means that we need to have housing that's accessible, or at least usable, that's on a transit line, and that's in a community that works for us. I think my panelists here are going to talk about what that means. It doesn't mean just finding a place anywhere, because if it doesn't work for us, it doesn't work, and that creates isolation, which is the exact opposite of what Olmsted wanted, the purpose of Olmsted. Affordability is a huge issue for people especially on fixed incomes who have no ability, and often because of some other limitations on benefits, have no ability to deal with unplanned expenses. So I am very grateful that ADEO offered to help with the move costs, because I know I just helped my disabled adult son move, and it was $1,000, and that wasn't even deposit. So that kind of financial support is going to be really important, and thank you for that. We also believe that when the state and federal government spends money on us, on our support, that there needs to be significantly increased accountability for how we're treated, and maybe some behavioral expectations that we can put into, maybe organize to put into law, that says certain expectations have to be in place if you're going to bill Medicaid or any state agency for anything. There are bills at the state level right now that will directly help people, such as conditions about when you can evict someone, notice, that kind of stuff. And we believe that the voices of us with direct experience need to be heard in all settings, again, state, local, federal, and that when we join together, we're more powerful, but not only more powerful, but it's safer for us because people often fear retaliation when they speak up. So we're here again to invite anyone who's directly affected, and that's people who might be, impacted, be worried about being evicted, be worried about not having a place to be, as well as friends, families, neighbors, because we are all in a community together, and so we are all directly affected. Again, we want to work with our supporters, again, people like Representative Young, like Juliana Kitten, like County Commissioner Buck, all folks like this, to make sure that we have the right ordinances and laws to make sure that people who need certain living situations can get it without risk of displacement. All of the rights that we have as people with disabilities started when people with disabilities and our allies said enough is enough and got involved. People may not know, but the disability rights movement in this country started in Denver, Colorado, when people with disabilities said, we're going to live in the community and we're going to get on these buses and block traffic at Broadway and Colfax until it happened. The people that started that were known as the Gang of 19, not the bad kind of gang, the good kind of gang. And they were, again, people with very significant disabilities. That caused RTD to be the first transit in the country to have wheelchair lifts, then the first totally accessible. That movement led to the Americans with Disabilities Act. So it was 19 people, most of whom grew up in institutions and could not read and write, who changed the world by saying enough is enough.